What is up everybody, it is missvadams here and welcome to this brand new beginner's guide to Project Zomboid Build 42, how to get through your first week in the game. This series will walk you through the basics of combat, how to find food, water and weapons, how to secure your base, finding and driving your first vehicle, and then surviving the chopper event at the end of the first week. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. So when you load into the game, you want to go to solo and then pick your game style. We've got Apocalypse, Survivor and Builder here, which are all presets. Apocalypse being the most difficult, Builder being the easiest. Custom Sandbox, you can change pretty much any of the settings that you want to. You've got challenge modes, which can be a bit of fun once you've got to know the game better. This is also the place, if you do have any mods installed, that you would add them in. But for the purpose of today's video, I'm going to hit Apocalypse because it's what I'm personally used to playing. Then on this screen, we have the Build 42 map, which has had a little bit of an overhaul from Build 41. It is looking really awesome. And not only is it pretty aesthetically pleasing, but if you zoom into each town, you'll see all these points of interest that give you an indicator of what you're going to find in that particular town. So by looking at Muldra here, we've got a couple of gas stations. That looks like a police or fire station, some kind of medical facility, which is cool. Muldra is the default spawn area that the game gives you, but as a beginner, there are a couple of easier places to spawn that I could recommend. The first of which being Rosewood, which is a very much tried and tested Build 41 beginner start point. It is in the south of the map. But for today's video, I think I'm going to go with Echo Creek. This is the new spawn area that has come with Build 42. It is a farming village. I would call it a village as opposed to a town because as we can see, there's not actually that much here. However, it does have the smallest zombie population in the town proper itself, if you exclude some of these surrounding areas here. So we are going to go in with Echo Creek. And then this is the important bit. This is our character creation here. So you'll see you have your occupation on the left. We're going to go in with custom occupation, which used to be called unemployed in Build 41. And what that means is we don't have any special skills or abilities, but we do get a handy 8 points to spend on positive traits, which are obviously going to positively affect our character and our skills. So a few beginner-friendly ones we're going to go in with today include Cat's Eyes, which is a non-negotiable trait for me now in Build 42. Since they made the game a lot darker, it means that we can see much better at nighttime. And then if I scroll down, the other ones I'm going to go with are Fast Learner, which gives us increased XP gains by 30% in all of our skills except for fitness and strength. And then I'm also going to go in with Fit and Stout, which add +2 to fitness and +2 to strength, which are really handy for being in combat. And combat, I would say, is one of the most difficult things to master as a beginner. And then for the negative traits, we have to spend 12 points now in order to balance this out. So some beginner-friendly negative traits you could add. If you're on single player, are Slow Reader, because you can just speed up time, pass the time when you're doing that. What else have we got? I would go with Weak Stomach, which gives you a higher chance of having food illness, which is very easily negated by not eating rotten or poisonous foods. Slow Healer recovers slowly from injuries and illnesses. Honestly, as a beginner, you're probably going to be dying a lot anyway, so this is kind of a couple of free points in my opinion. You might decide not to take this down the line when you're a bit more experienced, but we're going to add that in at the moment. And then I would say Prone to Illness here is a pretty good one as well. More prone to disease. You can catch colds and things in Project Zomboid, but when you spawn in, it's in the summer, in July, so you're very unlikely to catch a cold, at least whilst you're starting out. And a faster rate of zombification. A bit of spoiler alert here, if you get bitten by a zombie, you are 100% chance going to contract the Nox zombie virus. So you know what, if you become a zombie quicker, then that's probably a good thing that you find out sooner. Once you're done with your occupation and traits, you can go ahead and save your build. And then here's our character creation screen. We're looking quite dapper here. I'm gonna load in Miss V, whom I made earlier. But as you can see on the left, we've got skin color, we've got voice type, which is a new feature to Build 42. There we go. Oh, there's James. I can't remember who I had now. Did I have Marianne? Hey. We'll have Marianne, but you can change your voice type if you want. Name of character and all that on the left. And on the right-hand side here, you've got all of the different clothing items that you might want to equip. Bearing in mind, you're probably going to change that up pretty quickly as you play the game anyway, but it's just whatever you start with on the right here. And yeah, we are ready to load into Knox County for a brand new beginner adventure. So when you first spawn in, one of the first things you're going to do is hit C to crouch, and that is going to mean that zombies are less likely to spot you through windows because they can see through windows. And then what we really need is a weapon, some food, and some water. Those are the first two things that we need to do. So I'm going to make my way over to the kitchen and have a look in the fridge and the freezer. Unfortunately, there's nothing in there. What else have we got? Crackers. Crackers are perishable, so I'm trying to eat as much perishable food as I can at the moment, and then I can save all of my tinned goods for later down the line when all the food starts to go rotten. We've got an empty glass here. I can grab that, and then if I right click on a water source like this sink, I can fill it up. There we go. And then what that will do is if I hit I, that opens my own inventory here. And then we will drink out of this water glass automatically and stop ourselves from getting dehydrated. The little window here is the inventory of the container that we have currently selected. So I'm just going to discard a bunch of things that I know I don't need. At the moment, we're spawning in with a pistol and some ammo. This is just the devs trying to kind of help us out a bit with the new aiming system in Build 42. But as a beginner, you don't need a gun. They make a lot of noise, which in turn attracts a lot of zombies. So I'll store that for later. Have we got anything else useful here? Not really, to be honest with you. So I'm just going to survive off my crackers and my glass of water at the moment. What else have we got in this house? Let's have a look around. Here we go. I can see a t-shirt in here. I am going to rip the t-shirt because that is going to turn the t-shirt into rags, which could be particularly useful if you do end up in an accident, you get a scratch or a laceration from a zombie or from a tree, we're going to be able to bandage that up with these rags. So that is a very useful thing to do to have your first aid item on you. We're going to close these curtains, okay? Closing these curtains is going to block the line of sight from the zombies to keep us a little bit safer inside of this house. Just having a look there. I wasn't sure if that was the front door for a moment. Another thing you could do with curtains is you can remove them if you want. So I can remove this curtain and then I can place it on another window if I want. Or something else that's useful is I can go to my inventory and right click, make a sheet sling bag, which is going to be our first backpack, essentially. It's not going to be a very good one. However, if I right click on it, equip on back, there we go. We can see that it carries 10 weight worth of items. And what it does is when you put items into here, it reduces their weight capacity, thus making you more light and less likely to be over encumbered. Okay, having a look around our house. Now, luckily, when you spawn into a house, that house won't have any zombies inside. So we don't need to worry about there being zombies in here. I'm going to hope that maybe there's a weapon or something upstairs that we might be able to use. A fanny pack. Okay, this is very useful. Right click. You can actually equip 2 of these, one on the front and one on the back. Hello. We've got a zombie at our door. What do? We don't have a weapon. Okay, we are going to crouch. We're going to right click. And then I'm going to hit E, open the door, back up and hit spacebar. I can still hear zombies. There's still one here. That's okay. I'm going to zoom in as well. Zooming in with combat is really helpful. So you can use your scroll wheel to do that. I'm just going to keep hitting spacebar. I can also back up as well a little bit. And eventually what will happen is the zombie will fall over. There's another one coming. Oh goodness. Okay. So we have several. And at the moment, I really don't want to be taking on more than 2 zombies at a time. So you can always walk away from zombies if you're feeling overwhelmed. So long as you're not overly tired or exerted or have a leg injury, you can outwalk zombies even when they're shambling towards you. So you know what we're going to do? We're just going to walk away. I'm going to see if I can lose this group of zombies. We're just going to walk casually away. We've got a farm down here. So I'm going to avoid that because I can see there's more zombies down there. You can see I'm pulling them in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can lose them around the edge of this house. Zombies like to get attracted to windows and doors. So I'm going to go into crouch and then hit shift to run. And I'm going to wander around this house, giving myself enough berth around the corners in case there are a group of zombies around the corner. And then I am just going to hide out here for a minute. Walk slowly, and hopefully now that group of zombies will have lost my line of sight. and will leave us alone. Another way you can lose line of sight from zombies is from trees as well. Just be careful though. If you walk into a tree, you do have a chance of scratching or lacerating yourself. And also trees do conceal zombies as well, so be careful around them, but you can use them to your advantage. So if I back up now and I pull my cursor down to the right, I can see that they are not aggroed to me. But I'm still going to stay crouched as not to get spotted by them and hope that I can go back to the house we were just in to finish looting it and to be a little bit more safe and have a place eventually that we're going to be able to sleep. Now that zombie down here does have a backpack, which you can see here. Now that's going to be very useful for us. So eventually we are going to want to take on that zombie at least, because that backpack is definitely better than the makeshift one I have now. Whilst we're here, that zombie that we did knock down, if I go to I can see what's inside of their inventory. They have clothing items, which at the moment I'm not going to find particularly useful, but you can find useful items on zombie bodies. It is worth checking every single one of them. Upstairs, we've got a closet here. Let's have a look. Okay, I mean, thread is actually a useful item. We can use thread in an emergency in case, well, we would need a needle, but in case we get, I don't know, a deep injury that we need to stitch up. Carrying thread is a very useful thing. Keys to the residence. This is our house, so I can actually attach that to my keyring. It's this key here. I think this is already the key to our house, so we have 2 keys, but you can right click on it. You can rename so that you can keep track of all the keys to all the buildings that you have found. So we'll just call that house for now. There we go. I'm gonna close as many curtains as I can, even upstairs. There we go. What else have we got in here? Okay, crayons. These might be useful if you grab them. Why can't I grab them? Oh, it's trying to put them on my keyring. That's why. I could also drag items over, by the way, into my inventory. But crayons are useful because you can actually draw on your map. So if I hit M, that opens up our map. And as you can see, we've only found this really small portion of Echo Creek out of this huge map. And we are the tiny red dot. But you can see on the right here, we've got a bunch of markings we can add. So if I click on the house, now that I've got the crayons, I can draw on the map. So we can mark where our base is. By default on Apocalypse, Survivor or Builder settings, you won't have a mini-map. If you do want access to a mini-map, you will need to add that setting in through sandbox settings. Okay, nothing useful in there. To be honest, I'm not likely to go into this bathroom much. So I'm actually going to remove the curtains so that I can use them downstairs. Same for this room, I think. Because the bed that I'm going to sleep in is going to be the big double bed, because the big double bed actually has more comforts to it. So we're going to get a better night's sleep staying in there. Yeah, let's remove all of these and then we will add them all in downstairs. There we go. That is all the windows down here, so I don't need to be in crouch mode anymore. Something you can do is if you have a house that has a television, turn it on and make sure the volume is as low as possible. Turn it over to Life and Living TV and tune in, and you will start learning skills. There are TV shows at midday, 6 in the morning, and 6 at night. Just taking care of this zombie quickly. There we go. I don't know if we just saw there, but here we go, the carpentry show. So you can see that we are gaining carpentry XP by watching this show. And if we take a look at our heart icon, go to skills, scroll down a little bit, you can see all of the skills that we have here. The carpentry is ticking up very slowly until, there we go, the magic music. We have just gained our first level of carpentry. So these TV shows on Life and Living, they will happen daily until 6 a.m. on the 9th day, and at that point the TV turns off, or at least the TV shows stop running. It is possible with the latest build, so build 42 in Project Zomboid, that you can gain up to the first 3 skill points in skills that you watch TV for. So we've got the cook show, that's the one at 6 a.m. Then the carpentry show is at midday, and at 6 p.m. we have the survival show that will teach you a whole bunch of skills ranging from fishing, foraging, agriculture, trapping, and a bit more carpentry. You've also down the line got the ability to play skill videos and also entertainment videos as well. If you look in bookcases and things, you can sometimes find those. There we go. VHS Tangier. That's not going to teach us anything, any skills, but it will help relieve boredom a little bit. There aren't any weapons in this house, unfortunately, which means we're going to have to head out and use pushing and shoving as a way to combat zombies. We know that there is a group of zombies down here, so we do want to be pretty cautious about that. I'm actually going to head in the other direction to see if it's a little bit safer. I can see a house there that looks like it might be worth looting. I don't feel that you always have to be in crouched position, by the way, if you feel it's safe. What have we got here? We've got a letterbox. These are worth checking on. There's a really cool addition to Build 42. These flyers, you can read them. Take a look at this. So they're quite fun. They give an insight into the lore and history of Project Zomboid. But not only that, the locations that the flyers advertise, you can actually find on your map. So this Brott Cattle Farm, for example, in Irvington, Kentucky, if I right-click, or left-click, sorry, on the map icon here, and it is showing us where this cattle farm is, which is apparently all the way out here compared to where we are. But a really neat little feature to Build 42. Also, sometimes you can find skill magazines inside of letterboxes. So this Moodle here, Moodles are little indicators that your character needs something, and they will most of the time be giving you some kind of debuff if you don't deal with them. So this is reminding me that I need to eat because I'm hungry. So that is a bit of a priority here. I'm going to check this house by looking in the windows. Gives me an idea as to if there are any zombies inside or not. Okay, that looks all right to me. Let's go see if we've got any food, maybe a weapon if we're lucky. What have we got? A ham! Amazing. Okay, I am going to eat half of that ham. What else have we got? A fillet knife. Okay, this will work as a weapon. It's not my favorite type of weapon, but I'm going to equip it. Oh, that looks quite dangerous actually, doesn't it? What else have we got in here? Cereal. Cereal is a great food in Project Zomboid. So we can see here that we're actually stuffed. Your stomach is... Oh, well, it was full. Apparently it's not anymore. Let me see if I can get that to return so I can show you. This is one, if not the only green buff that you get in your Moodles. Everything else is negative because Project Zomboid is very difficult. But this is going to give us a little buff. It's going to make us a little bit stronger in combat, and it will also increase temporarily our inventory capacity by 2. Weight is particularly important in Zomboid. You do need to make sure that your character doesn't get too hungry, but separate to that, if we go under info, we'll see this number here, 80, and an arrow next to it. So 80, I think it's kilograms, not entirely sure, but you want to keep your weight between 75 and 85, otherwise you will either gain the underweight or overweight debuffs, which affect fitness and strength, which is particularly troublesome in combat. So at the moment we are an ideal weight at the moment. That little arrow pointing up means that we are slowly gaining weight, which isn't a bad thing because I find with Build 42 that trying to maintain weight can be pretty troublesome in Zomboid. Oh, here we go, look at this. Magazine, The Farmer's Guide, teaches you to make a scarecrow and barbed wire, which will be useful down the line when we get into agriculture. So I'm going to grab that. Tweezers are nice as well. Occasionally you might be unfortunate and get in an accident which lodges a piece of glass into your character, and you would actually need tweezers to be able to get that out. What about this shed? Often sheds can have some pretty good loot inside. So let's just quickly scan to make sure. Oh, I can see 3 zombies there. I'm going to go into crouch mode a minute. And I'm going to attempt to... Oh, they've spotted me. Right, let's try and loot quickly. Okay, there's some good books in here. Mechanics 3, Carpentry 4, and Carlo Crystal magazine. Let's take those. On the floor. Oh, wow. Welding magazine and Electrical 3. We don't need those straight away, but they will be handy. Now, I can hear the zombies, but where are they? Here they are. How many have we got? We've got 2. Let's take them on. I've got my knife. So when I'm fighting one or more zombies, I need to be making sure I'm backing up all the time and trying to get them into a line, like so. There we go. Something you can do to kind of save on the durability of your weapon where possible is continue to do the push and stomp method. If you're finding combat particularly troublesome, there is a setting you can use to help yourself. If you hit escape, go to options, user interface, and scroll down to cursor here, tick melee target outline. And when you come to fight zombies now, you'll see that they have a red outline. This can help with accessibility, but also it really helps with combat, because I think one of the most difficult parts of combat in Zomboid to begin with is knowing which direction you're fighting in. It looks easy, but trust me, when you're getting used to it, it can feel quite difficult. So we actually dealt with 3 zombies there. That's nice. Have they got anything good on them? That's the question. I'm ideally looking for a watch at this stage so that I can tell the time and the temperature, but unfortunately, no watches have appeared yet. We're also thirsty again. That's fine because we've got a sink in here. If for whatever reason you're trying to loot a house and the door won't open, you can also try to open windows as well. There we go. I open the windows and then I can climb through. Sometimes the windows won't open, but we got lucky there. All right, let's fill this up with water again. And we need to keep heading out to try and find ourselves a better weapon. There is a house up here. Let's see what we have going on. It's looking fairly clear from the outside. Of course, that doesn't mean that there aren't zombies on the inside, so we will need to be cautious. Let's have a look and check the perimeter. Oh, it looks like there's some fresh soup on the table. Yummy. Always check bins as well. Sometimes bins do have useful items in, like bin bags, which you can use in crafting. Always worth checking. Okay, what have we got here? I'm going to try and give the corners a bit of a wide berth in case there's any zombies. It looks like we've got a basement here, which would be pretty fun to check out. That is a new feature of Build 42. The house looks reasonably safe. I'm just gonna go in through the window here, if I can. Oh, we're having trouble opening it. There we go. We got in. My character's pretty strong, so I guess that helps us in that sense. So we're trying to find a weapon first and foremost. There were a couple of rooms here that didn't have windows. So as precaution, something you can do if you're not sure what is on the other side of the door, if you right click to go into combat stance and double tap E in quick succession, you can very briefly see what is behind that door and close it again. So, you know, there might be 20 zombies packed in a room in some places. And this can be an absolute lifesaver. And it's something that I do every time I'm unsure what is behind the door. Oh, something useful here. A pillow. If I can grab that pillow, I can put it on my own bed and it will increase the comfort rating so that I get a better quality night's sleep. Now, all of this food here is just sitting out. I'm going to take that with me back to base. Lots of soup that we can cook. It does say uncooked, so we're going to want to cook that. A bathroom. Oh, wait a minute. That's odd. There's like 2 doors into the bedroom. Oh, okay. We're safe. What have we got in here? Bacon and jalapeno. Now, food items that are in the fridge. As long as there is power, I am always in the habit of putting them in the freezer so that they keep for longer. The power in Project Zomboid, and the water for that matter, will go out at some point between the first day and day 30. So yeah, as much as we can to kind of preserve this perishable food is a good thing. I just saw a couple of useful things here. Screwdriver. Now, this is one of the first important tools that we're going to need when we're thinking about carpentry, which we won't be looking at on the first day at least, but I'm going to grab it for later use. We've also got, I noticed, some pans. Pans can actually be used as a weapon in a pinch, and since we have 2, I'm actually going to go ahead and start using one as a weapon, but I'll carry one with me as well because we can use that for cooking up food. You'll notice that we now have this weight icon as well, which means we are technically over encumbered. So this first icon isn't going to do too much for us, but if this gets deeper and deeper red with the more encumbered we get, we're going to start losing a bit of health. It is capped, so don't worry, you can never die from being over encumbered, but it is something that you want to watch because your character will become slower and weaker the more encumbered they are. But what I can do is I can move some of these items into this rucksack, and as you can see, it's reducing the weight capacity. We have ourselves a couple of very basic weapons. We have food, we have water. Now, oh, what have we got here? A car. Well, you know what we should do whenever we see a car, because they're not so common by default, we should go and check it out, because this is one of the things that I would like to secure within my first week of Project Zomboid. So if I go up to a car, you can see this little green symbol. That means you can try and open the door. Oh, sometimes cars are locked, but this one is not, which is a bonus. And if I hit I in the car, I can see the inventory of all the seats. What have we got? Alcohol bottle, useful for disinfecting. Lovely. Anything else that's worth grabbing at the moment? A battery. Oh, we got a zombie coming out. Let me deal with them quickly. Didn't look like there was anything massively useful in there at the moment. Right, let's try out this frying pan. I love the noise it makes. Not the best weapon, as you can see, but can be used in a pinch. Okay, we've got 3 zombies coming in. Again, don't want to deal with more than 2 at once, so this is the maximum I want to be dealing with right now. Just keep hitting, keep hitting. Hitting and pushing, hitting and pushing. There we go, and then slowly but surely, we will get there. Have any of you got a watch? That would be great right about now. Yes, a classic wristwatch. Okay, where? What time is it? It is 18:20, which means unfortunately we have missed the survival show for this evening. But that's okay, because there will be more tomorrow. Oh, it looks like there's quite a few zombies in this house. To save on the durability of the pan, I'm going to do push and shove where I can. There we go. Now, I reckon the reason why zombies are kind of pouring out of here is because this television is pretty loud. I know I do want to check out the rest of that car. However, something we should do to help ourselves is just turn this television down. There we go. Something I like to do is always turn them over to Life and Living, by the way, just in case you're looting a house and you get to catch a TV show. We have a vehicle key. This is actually incredible, finding a vehicle with a key on day 1. It doesn't happen often, but you can find vehicle keys in a couple of ways. You can find them in the house or the property that the vehicle is located at. You can find it technically on zombies that are in or around the property where the vehicle is. You can also technically find keys. Sometimes if you're really lucky, you can find them in the ignition, or you can find them in the glove box of an unlocked car. But since we have the key, I mean, it looks like the boot is already unlocked, but sometimes if you can even just get into a car, you can actually just unlock the boot by clicking on the boot icon and check the boot for useful items. Look at this. This is amazing. Okay, ratchet wrench. This is actually a pretty good short blunt weapon that I'm going to go ahead and equip instead of our pan. I'm going to put the pan in here for now, I think. We'll save the pan for another day. There we go. Beta blockers. They are really useful for mitigating panic when that happens. A spare screwdriver is useful. Scalpel as well. Amazing. Now, I know my character's thirsty. We'll deal with that in a second. A way that you can check a vehicle's condition is by going up to the hood here and pressing E. Do make sure the coast is clear, because you don't want a zombie sneaking up behind you when you're doing this. But as we can see, overall condition is 64%, so it's not brilliant. And looking at this, the engine is only 25% condition, which is actually really bad. You ideally want that engine to be in much better condition, because it means that the car is going to have issues with stopping and starting, which can be very troublesome if you are in the middle of a group of zombies. How are we doing for gas? There's no gas as well. So unfortunately, at the moment, I don't think this car is massively useful to us. So so I don't get confused with the amount of keys I have, I'm going to click on the ignition. It pops the key in the ignition without turning the car on. I'm going to leave that in there in case we need it as an emergency later. Now, my character is starting to be weighed down and we're thirsty. And since home isn't far away, I think we're going to go back and start resting up for the night. It is 1940. It will start getting dark at around 10 o'clock, so we've still got a couple of hours. But it's always good to kind of, know when to call it a day, and we at least need to get home and drop this loot off. We're a little bit moist from all of the rain and stuff. If we allow this to build up and the weather is cold, then we can potentially catch a cold, which is bad. But because it's summer, I don't need to worry about that. Something that can be useful to do if you're waiting for bedtime is reading books. So these are skill magazines. You can see which recipes they're going to teach us if we read them. So we right click to read, and actually you can read these fairly quickly. You can actually speed up the time as well. There we go. Speed up the time to read them. Skill magazines are a one-time read to learn all of these recipes. There we go. So we've just learned a bunch of farming stuff, a bunch of crafting stuff for down the line. And this is a crystal magazine. There's a new mechanic in the game involving cutting gemstones and smelting gold and silver, which you don't need to worry about right now. But yeah, I'm going to store these in here for now in case I decide, I don't know, say I die and I want to respawn within this world. I can come back and read these. We also have these skill books. Now, you would need to find a book that says 1 next to it. first and foremost. So the way that the books work with XP is that they give a boost to experience points. They don't actually give you the experience points themselves. You will either need to watch TV shows or you will need to actively do things in order to increase your skills. So for example, with carpentry, I essentially need to build things in order to gain the points. But if I read Carpentry 1, that will give me an XP boost in levels 1 and 2. So you have books that correspond to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But at the moment, I don't think I have any skill 1 books, so I actually can't read any at the moment. It looks like we're hungry as well. What other food items did I have on me? We have the cereal. Oh yeah, we got the soup and it's uncooked. Okay, let's do some cooking. All right, oven. Let's have a look. Right click, turn on. And then all you need to do is put your items into the oven for them to cook. And you've got to keep an eye on them because if you allow them to start burning, they could potentially cause a fire, which we absolutely do not want. But as you can see, we can actually technically eat this bowl of soup uncooked and it wouldn't harm us. But most items, especially meat and things like that, you absolutely want to be cooking. Otherwise, your character has a risk of getting food poisoning, essentially. We can see the cooking meter going up at the bottom there. And then when it's done, it will immediately start burning. So you just drag the items over into your inventory. You'll notice that the bigger pots will take longer to cook. So I'm going to just put double speed on a minute. I don't want to put triple speed on, just in case I miss the bar and it starts burning. There we go. And then go back to regular speed. Lovely. Don't forget to turn your oven off as well. Another way that you can accidentally set your house on fire. There we go. Now, I know that I'm going to eat this soup over the next few days, so that's going to go into the fridge. And then we can have ourselves a tasty snack before we go to bed. Delicious. Amazing. And then it's nearly time for bed pretty much. I'm gonna start storing some of my items though. We've got the ratchet wrench as a weapon. Turns out we had a knife all along, by the way, but it's dull. So I wouldn't have really been able to use that as a weapon anyway. You can see the sharpness is really low. We would need to craft or find a whetstone in order to make that knife usable. So pan is going in there. Empty bowl. We can, in fact, something you can do if you ever have any empty containers, if you right click on your sinks and stuff, just fill everything up. Fill everything up that you can with water and store it in case your water does go out early, because sometimes it can. I had my water go out on day 3 once. That was a lot of fun. Oh, I'm doing something really silly. I keep equipping my fanny pack instead of wearing it. Okay, we need to go on wear on front. There we go. I must have just been holding it in my hand this entire time. So that should now be on us permanently now. Okay, it looks like we've got the tired Moodle here, which is perfect timing. I do try to get my character in bed before midnight if I can. Keeping a good sleep schedule in Zomboid is really important because nighttime gets very dark. And despite our cat's eyes trait, which technically does help us see a bit better at night, it can be quite dangerous. And also when you're tired, your character is slower and you are weaker as well. So we need to go to bed. I can turn the light on because we've got curtains up. Now I had the pillow in my inventory. I can right click, place item, and just pop it on the bed there. And that's going to give me a better night's sleep. So gang, right click, sleep. Do we want to sleep? We do. That is the end. How to get through your first day in Project Zomboid. Thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy the content, please hit like and subscribe. The next episode will be out very soon. I think we're going to go and have a look around for some carpentry materials so that we can start securing our base and boarding it up. So folks, until next time, see you later. Goodbye.